Right, good evening, everybody. We're here for a rare Sunday show. We only really do these when we've got a big week of fights coming up, which we most certainly have this week. We've got, I count 6 main shows that we could probably cover off this week. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there might be more or less, but I think it's 6. The boys with me, as always, Jay and Liam. Good to see you, boys. Hope you're both doing well. We're going to start down under them. We'll cover off Fabio Wardley and Justice Honey, which I guess is more down under interest with Hooney stepping in for Jarrell Baby Miller. But we'll start the Cruiserweight division. Jai Opetaia defending his IBF. I think he's Ring Magazine champion as well, isn't he, at Cruiserweight? You've got Dorticos and Zordo fighting on this Jake Paul Chavez Jr. card in 3 or 4 weeks' time as well. So they're on similar schedules. You would think if Opetaia gets through the undefeated Italian Claudio Squeo and Zordo gets through Dorticos, which he should outbox him, I think, at the end of the month. We'll hopefully see them on a Riyadh season card towards the end of the year for this 3-belt unification. And Badu Jack will be basically saying, show me the money, I would imagine, for one of them two to become undisputed. But he's got Claudio Squeo then to get out of the way, boys. As usual, I'll throw it to both of you. Give me your thoughts on the matchup. It's going to take place again in the same arena, the Gold Coast Convention Centre that Jai Opetaia sensationally flattened Naika in January. I remember we did the watch-along. It was a bit of a tough watch in the end, seeing Naika go down like that. It was a brutal. Up there for knockout of the year, really. I think it'd be tough to beat that. There have been a few decent ones, obviously, of late as well. But, yeah, brutal from Jai Opetaia, that was. So, yeah, give me your thoughts, boys, on this matchup.
I mean, Claudio, God love him. Other than, well, no. Look, anyone that says he is of any level above regional is pissing in the wind and hoping to make something stick.
Yeah, well, he's never left Italy, has he?
He's never left Italy. He's got.
He might have a passport, Jay.
Possibly not, mate. Been there, done that. Look, he.
Evening, Hawk. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Good evening, brother. Look, not one opponent on his record of any note. And that's not to say that some of the guys might end up being somebody, but Cruiserweight, ordinarily, when they're of a certain level, within 10 to 15 fights, you recognise some of the names when they're climbing the levels because they have to go through some of the top Europeans, some of the top Brits, the Americans, the Oceanias and whatnot. We don't see any of that on his record. This is what's called a layup. It's the football analogy. The cross is coming in. The goalkeeper's fumbled it, empty net, and he's just got to put it in and then sit and wait for 3 or 4 weeks for his big fight. I've
got a question, mate, on that subject. Sorry to cut you off. Is Jai Opetaia probably, and I know we know how high Liam's probably more high on Jai Opetaia than me and you are, even though we both rate him. Is his recent run of opponents underwhelming, Opetaia?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been underwhelmed, and I won't say disappointed. Disappointed is probably harsh, but I've been underwhelmed by probably his last 5 or 6 opponents, Brits included.
Naika, Jack Massey, Bradis,
Zorro,
Ellis Zorro, and who was it?
Jordan Thompson.
Right. He hasn't.
No disrespect to any of them, but they were all handpicked or to serve a narrative, him boxing over here, or the Brits, the Brit audience to sort of market him. I get it. Boxing does a lot of that. I don't use the term, but they say tin cans, don't they? And I'm not saying Jack Massey and them are tin cans, but they are of a certain level of opponent. Jack Massey is a domestic level opponent, European.
Yeah, domestic European level, Jack Massey is.
He's way past that point now. I don't like seeing fighters fight down the levels. You know, it's not as though the Italian kid has knocked out one of the top 5 and earned his shot. Not sure how he's earned his shot.
He's ranked because he won, Liam, the IBF European Cruiserweight Championship a few fights ago. That's probably how he's got an IBF ranking. But
It's a bauble. It's a bauble, Ben. No disrespect, Troy Williamson, but has an IBO European title in his belt collection. That didn't justify him facing Charlo, for example, at the time. So it's nothing but a bauble. Dave Allen doesn't really justify getting a WBA world title shot because he's won what did he win? A WBA International Masters.
Yeah, he won
in Emeritus. It's a layup. And if Jai Opetaia doesn't smash this kid inside 4 or 5 rounds, I'd be super disappointed or impressed that this unknown entity has pushed himself into the limelight.
Liam, I want to ask you a question, mate, to bring you in. Do you think that Opetaia's run could potentially hinder him if him and Zordo do meet? Because you look at Zordo, I mean, like, he hasn't been a cruiserweight for too long, but if he beats Dorticos, who's a former champion, he's at the back end of his career. Chris Billam-Smith is, for me, his win over Billam-Smith's a better win than any of Opetaia's wins that aren't Bradis, to be fair. And Bradis was at the end of his career in the second fight, and he gave Opetaia hell.
He had him in trouble at spots for that fight.
He did.
Yeah, mate, you are completely right. And that is my biggest worry with Jai Opetaia. It's not the talent or the skill level. It's the level of opposition he's going in with. Look, we've just gone through the resume. We don't need to do it anymore. It's underwhelming. It's disappointing. The only positive I can take out of it is we'll see Jai Opetaia fight 3, maybe 4 times this year, because this is already his second fight and we're in May. There's not many top-end world champions that we see fight this regularly. But I do agree, mate. Zordo, if he beats Dorticos off the back of the Billam-Smith fight, is much more battle-hardened and much more toughened. He's also, I know it was down at light heavyweight, but he's fought Dimitri Bivol, Zordo, hasn't he? I know he lost and he was outclassed, but he's been in with a better caliber. I do think Jai Opetaia is a better fighter. However, when you are getting a certain level of opponent and you're not having to show your full skill set for such a long period of time, when that night comes again where you have to...
Are you ready?
Yeah. Look, Opetaia, as Hawkan said in the comments, as we've spoken about off camera, as Jay's just said, this shouldn't go past the first half of the fight. That's no disrespect to the Italian coming over, but an IBF European belt you can get in your box of cornflakes in your supermarket. So it's, realistically, one of us could have picked up an IBF ranking if we got hold of this belt. It's being done because when the Inyika fight happened in January, it was no longer for his mandatory. So yet again, Opetaia is having to fight a mandatory because he's already been stripped by the IBF before because he decided not to do the Breeders rematch, didn't he, straight away? So he's always said, I'm not allowing myself to be stripped again. So he's holding the IBF, playing at their own game. Okay, you think I'm not going to fight this guy? Well, give me him 11 weeks after my last fight. I love the Opetaia attitude. I hope he gets it done quickly. And then I hope he's ringside at Dorticos and Zordo. And then they announce it's over. It has to be done. It has to be, Bivol Beterbiev 3 looks like it's going to open Riyadh season, doesn't it? This fight should be on the undercard.
Well, look, Haney Garcia was meant to be on that card as well. That looks done now and we'll talk about this on Tuesday, obviously after the Caleb Plant thing yesterday as well. But that is a perfect co-main event for me. That's a 3-belt unification potentially.
Number 1 in the division.
Yeah.
If Jai Opetaia doesn't face Zordo in his next fight, then everything we've been spoon-fed by Eddie Hearn gives it's bullshit.
He needs a name, Jay. He needs a name. He needs Zordo. It has to be Zordo. That's the only fight.
There's nowhere else to go. We're getting to a Benavidez-Canelo scenario where it doesn't matter who Canelo beats and how he beats them. Until he beats Benavidez, he's not the best in that division for me. And Jai Opetaia is just going round in circles. He's just lapping the division. And unless he fights a guy that's going to give him a challenge that has one of the other belts, then this claim of him being the best and then going to go up to heavyweight and clean up is just hot air from his promoter. I'm starting to get a little bit bored of it now. And I want to see him in a real fight.
No more. Fair enough. If it's a Mando, I actually didn't even know that, Liam. But if it is a Mando, fair enough. I get it. He needs to keep his belt, so I'm not gonna shit on it too much. But yeah, I'm with Pat. I'm with Hawkan. I'm with what Jay said earlier. And I think Liam said the same thing. 3, 4, 5 rounds. It shouldn't see the second half of the fight. And to be honest with you, Jai Opetaia doesn't really play with his food either. He gets it done. So I'd imagine it'll be brutal.
I think he has to be. I've seen something in his last 3 or 4 fights. I don't think his cardio is as good as it could be. I think he struggles
the
late
times
on.
He contested was Bradis, both times in the second half of the fight.
Late on, because I think he puts a lot of energy into his power, which is, obvious. I'm stating the blatantly obvious there, but he doesn't seem to be able to retain it as well, and he struggles to sort of throw power and defend in the latter rounds, and I think that's where he would come unstuck against the likes of Zordo if he's not in a comfortable lead going into the last. I think Ramirez beats him, if I'm honest. And hopefully
I think he takes him to deep waters.
Yeah.
One thing about Zordo is he's got a great chin.
Yeah, and I think Opetaia would answer a lot of questions if he beat Ramirez. A lot. He would definitely be the man. Not just because he has the belts, but because of the performance he would have to give to beat the likes of Zordo.
Yeah, completely agree. We'll probably leave this one there then, boys. I think we're all in agreement. Thanks to Pat and Håkan for their input in the chat. I think all 5 of us that have given a little input there are all on the same page that we think Opetaia should take care of Claudio Squeo, but we'll see early hours of Sunday morning here in the UK. We've got one more to come, the big one, Fabio Wardley, Liam's man, against Justice Honey. Another bit of Australian interest. So join us in a couple of minutes and we'll give our thoughts on that one. Cheers, guys.
Thanks.